The senator from New York.
I'd like to commend the chairwoman of the Agriculture Committee and the ranking member of that committee for their dedicated effort to move a farm bill to the floor to discuss our nation's agricultural policy, and for their leadership in championing so many issues that help America's farmers and New York's farms. I rise today because I really want to make clear to the American people just what is at stake at the heart of this farm bill. It's about a growing economy for our family farms and for our small businesses. It's about reviving rural communities and rebuilding a thriving middle class and the opportunity for all of those who are trying to get there. It's about the health of our agricultural industry, the jobs it provides, and the health of our families that it helps to feed. But from the amendments that are being filed today from across the aisle, you would not know it. There are some trying to use this bill to roll back protections for the air that we breathe and for the water that we drink. There are some who want to use this bill to expand concealed carry laws for weapons. We're even seeing attempts to bring in the divisive politics from the Wisconsin wheat recall and inject it right into the debate on the Senate floor on farm policy. This bill has so much potential to create jobs, to help our farms thrive, to protect our farmers and small businesses from natural disasters, to feed our children, to feed our at-risk seniors. But if we are ever going to reach that potential, we can't afford to get bogged down in these dead-end fights that are meant only to score political points. And worse yet, there are draconian cuts being proposed by some that will take even more money away from those who are greatest in need, taking money away from the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, better known as food stamps, which literally will result in children going to bed hungry in this country. These amendments simply do not meet the fundamental founding principles of this nation or who we are as Americans. In this day and age, in this country as rich as we are, to accept hungry children, hungry families, hungry seniors, to me, is unacceptable. This farm bill started out with a $4.5 billion cut to food stamps over 10 years. These cuts must be restored. And while I've fought against these cuts with 13 of my colleagues from both sides of the aisle, others are still actually advocating for additional, much more extreme cuts. They could even cut the SNAP program by almost a half. If you've heard from families living off food stamps as I have, you know that this is something that no one strives for. Most have never imagined that they would be on food stamps, that they would need that kind of support. But many have been dealt a very bad hand in this economy, and through no fault of their own, they're finding they are at need. Food stamps are often the last resort for those who are just trying to keep the lights on, put food on the table for their kids, and be able to find their way back to that paycheck that they desperately want to be earning. And among all the families relying on food stamps at historical rates, we now are seeing our veterans and their families. Now, I can tell you, our veterans and their families have already suffered a lot. And for these troops coming home, they're coming back into a very tough economy and are unable to find the jobs they need. And you have to imagine these children of our vets who have already suffered so much, and now they're being faced with not knowing where their next meal comes from. Now, for any parent watching this debate today, I just want to ask you one question. Has your child ever said to you, "Mommy, I'm still hungry"? Well, I can't imagine what a mother would feel like if she could not hand her child some food. I can't imagine what a mother would feel like if her child said that to her every single night. That is exactly what we are talking about today in this farm bill. As a mother and as a legislature, watching children suffer, watching America's children not having enough to eat is something I will not stand quietly by and watch. Under this bill, nearly 300,000 families in New York will become food insecure. And what that translates to is $90 a month that they will have less money to put food on the table. And what that translates to is it's the last week of the month. That $90 pays the grocery bills every single week. So what do these families do when they don't have enough money at the end of the month? Despite not being responsible for the economic crisis that our country has faced, we will be asking these families to share a disproportionate amount of the burden being placed on them. And we know that food stamps are such a good investment into our economy. For every dollar that you put into food stamps, you get $1.71 back into the economy. Even one of the best economists, Mark Zandi, says the fastest way to infuse money into this economy is through food stamps. Now, these food stamps pay salaries for grocery clerks, truckers who haul the food. The USDA estimates that 16 cents go right back to the farmer. Now, I know my time is expiring, but I have 13 bipartisan co-sponsors for this amendment, and the list keeps growing, with the support from AARP, the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, and all those who are fighting on the front line for hunger. Our amendment will restore the SNAP funding back to the $4.5 billion that have been cut, and it will pay for the food that our kids so desperately need. Every child in America deserves to be fed. Every child in America deserves to reach their God-given potential. We need to restore these cuts to ensure that. I yield the floor.